Hello and welcome back to Grace.Filled Reads. I'm so excited to be back with you guys for another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about redeeming love. But first, I just want to thank you for being here, to the new subscribers, to my returning subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. You guys bless my heart. And if you do not know, I am over on Instagram at Grace.Filled Reads. The link will be in the description box. So make sure that you check that out and make sure you check out the playlist because I have a lot of other goodies. With that being said, I can see why this is a couple of things. One, I can see why this book is a favorite amongst a lot of people, but I also can see how this book was, I picked it in the category of like controversial. I could see how this book is very controversial as well. So I'm going to start with last night. So last night I was able to attend a church festival, and I did have this book with me because I think I had maybe 2 chapters to read left and why not. I cannot express to you how many people came up to me and was like, I love that book. I've read that book. I have that book. I'm about to read that book. I have read all of her books. There had to be at least, I'll just say about 7 people who came up to me and commented on this book. I won't go into details, but I will share that I have seen and or can relate to a few of the topics and things that were discussed in this book. And so I do not think that as a Christian writer, everything has to be fluffy and lacy and good and beautiful, because in life everything is not fluffy, lacy, good and beautiful. Tragedy happens, pain happens, grief happens, loss happens, and things that you would not want to happen to anyone sometimes happens to you or to those that you love and that you care about. So while I do love the idea of Christian fiction being a certain way, I think that we don't want to forget about and dismiss the people who don't live in those parameters of what it should look like. Because even within people who are Christians, there are those Christians who don't fit into those boxes, and they're doing things this way that are completely wrong and not acceptable or appropriate. And then there's Christians that are doing things this way that are completely wrong and not acceptable. So I just want to start off by saying that like I said, I have seen and or experienced a lot of these things, and I grew up Christian my whole life. So I didn't see what the big issue was with the book, because I've known multiple people who have been through things like this or worse. I think that this was a very well laid out storyline. I feel like Francine put a lot of time and energy and research into making of this book. Now, this book was almost like a 465 page book. So it was quite lengthy, but I never thought like, oh, when is this book going to end? It was captivating from start to finish. Now, I will say when I first read the prologue, I was like, what is this book? And I even had to go onto my stories and share that with my friends. Like, you know what, guys, I don't even think I want to read this book anymore. But I did stick with it, and I'm so glad that I did. So even with the prologue that I disliked, because of just the real and bluntness of it, I mean, it is reality for a lot of people, and that is why social services and other types of services exist to help people in situations like that. So the prologue started setting up the story of Angel's life, and from this setup we really can understand the viewpoint, the lens through which she views life. It doesn't have to be your lens. It was her lens according to how she was brought up, according to what she's seen, according to what she knows. And we know from a psychological standpoint that trauma does something to the brain. It changes the brain. It alters things, and it alters perceptions and realities, and you kind of view your life through the standpoint of your lenses. So if I were to give someone else my glasses, can they see with my glasses? Probably not. These lenses were made for me, and these lenses were based upon my sight, what I can see, what I cannot see. And so such is the story. This story is laid out for you. It is allowing us to see the lens through which Angel has now based her life, and the lens upon how she's viewing everything and how she's processing everything. So that was the prologue. In my night reading blogs, I spilled all the tea in a gentle way. With this review, I am trying to not spill the tea and to just give you something to sink in your teeth into without the spoilers. So if you want the spoilers, always check out my vlogs. I'm going to give it to you. My reviews are a little more polished and just try not to spill the tea. So that was the prologue of the story, which was hard, but it was true and it was amazing. So the prologue is taking us back to Angel's past. Chapters 1 and 2 are catching us up with where she is currently, presently. And then chapter 3 enters Michael Hosea. And that is when we see why he does what he does, and that is when we get a glimpse of him and his encounters with her, and that is setting up the scene for something that's going to happen later in a couple other chapters, which is kind of leading up to the climax, if you will, in the story. I think it's really interesting that we would say no to something under normal conditions, right? But then something can happen, something can alter our perceptions, right? An experience we have can leave us like, yeah, you know what? That doesn't sound like a bad idea after all. And so I feel like Angel had one of those moments when it came to Michael Hosea and something that he had asked of her. And so as a result of her answer to that, it changed the trajectory of her life, and it set them on an phenomenal path, on an amazing journey of healing, of reconciliation, of beginning to trust and to love and to leave the past behind you. See, it's so easy for people to say, oh, Hakuna Matata. No, just kidding. No worries. But you can tell me no worries, right? When you're sitting eating your fancy meal with your Gucci and Golds, with your Lexus or your Benz in your driveway, you can tell me like, oh, no worries. Everything's going to be okay. But are you telling me everything's going to be okay when you don't have a car, when your car is in the shop, when you're not eating fancy, but you barely can afford to even eat the cheapest of the cheapest meal, when you have very little and when you don't have enough to even make it month to month? Can you still tell me that no worries? I've just found that a lot of the people who say cliche-ish things, they live in a different spectrum, they live on a different part, and so they cannot fully understand or appreciate life in its totality for everyone, because everyone does not live like you. Regardless of how you live, everyone does not look like you. Everyone's lifestyle does not look like your lifestyle. And so I think that it's easy when you don't have the full contents or full context for you to judge other people, see them a certain way, have your own preconceived notations about their life, about what they should and should not be doing when you don't even know them. And these are things that I am finding that we're seeing recurring in the story. There's a lot of judgment. We're seeing a lot of shame and guilt. And I think that that is probably why I love Hosea so much, is he doesn't see through the lens in which others see, with their judgments, with their harshness, with their critical comments and words. He sees the heart of the Father, and I think he sees just a soul that's in need of salvation. And I think that we can learn a lot from this book, and just remembering to be careful how we judge people. how we label people as hard, as bad, as a troublemaker, as a troubled person, wrong side of the fence or the tracks or whatever, is so important to just remember that we could be in that position and maybe we're not. But be careful how you judge others, because I've seen life flip. And I've seen that the people who were judging others and laughing at others, people in the church, Christians, treating others so bad, maybe they're okay and their children okay. But you know what I've seen? I've seen it where their grandchildren were not. And I've seen it where their grandchildren, or even sometimes their children, end up like the people that they were laughing at, criticizing, putting down, all those things. Be mindful. There is one who sees and hears even when you think it's being done in private and silence behind closed doors. So what I loved about Angel was her drive and her determination to keep on going. How many people could be in her situation and be like, you know what, I'm done. I mean, she had some moments where she's like, I'm done. But look at all she had to go through. Who wouldn't be? What I'm saying is, I don't think a lot of people would have made it as far as she even made it in their life. And so I am just so amazed at her inner strength. I'm so amazed at the transformation that happened within her. Wow, to see where she came from and to see what she ended up doing, that was a testament to me of the Lord's hand in her life, and how, we talk about how, no tear will be wasted, right? That he collects our tears in a bottle, and how he orchestrates our lives and the plans, and that he knows what's best. Did it feel best? No. Would she or any of us or any of you or me have chosen to endure some of the trials, tragedies, traumas, abuses, neglects, etc.? You fill in the blanks that we have endured, that we know others too have endured. No. Did she want to be given over the way that she did? Of course not. Would any of us? Of course not. But we can see at the end that the Lord wanted to use that, and the Lord wanted to use her story for his good. And was it hard to see and read? Yes. But at the end, look at how many people were blessed, were touched, were encouraged by her being that vessel. He used her, and look how many people reaped the benefits. In the end, we can see what she accomplished touched so many and changed so many people's life. And if she had not been the one chosen to walk this path to then orchestrate and set up what she did set up and implement for others, would that have happened? And was it by divine chance that she met the family that she met that was able to help her finance and start and take care of that? And let's go back a little bit further. What were the odds that he would be where he was at the right time, at the right place, and hear what was happening and go inside and be able to help Angel? So even if you have had things happen to you that you did not like, did not enjoy, did not want, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it should have had. I'm not telling you any of those things. What I want to ask you is, have you gone through the things that you have gone through to encourage someone else, to help others from enduring the same thing, to protect others who might be in a situation similar to you? How can you use what has hurt and broken you to be a light, to be a witness, a testimony, encouragement, and strength for somebody else? Because I feel like you can, the reality is, when something happens, it happens. And you can either A, see it in a way that, you know what, I'm going to use this to help others. I'm going to use this as a teachable moment. I'm going to use this XYZ for my life, for others' lives. Or you can say, why did that happen to me? And you can stay kind of in that place and not necessarily bring an action or a change to others that might be in the same situation as you. And you really can stay in a place of brokenness, hurt, pain, unforgiveness. And so we see in the book, Angel was able to move past all of that and look at the beauty and the promise and things like that that she did receive. But what would have happened if she did not push through that healing, through that reconciliation, through the shame and the guilt? What if she didn't push through getting rid of all of those things? And so I actually can share more because I didn't want to give any spoilers, but this is already in the book, so it's not a spoiler. But it says, a time when men sold their souls for a bag of gold and women sold their body for a place to sleep. Angel expects nothing from men but betrayal. Sold into prostitution as a child, she survives by keeping her hatred alive. And what she hates most are the men who used her, leaving her empty and dead inside. So already, can you imagine being a prostitute as a child? Then she meets Michael Hosea, a man who seeks his father's heart in everything. Michael obeys God's calling to marry Angel and to love her unconditionally. Slowly, day by day, he defies Angel's every bitter expectation until, despite her resistance, her frozen heart begins to thaw. And I like this because so many times we think that, I was a therapeutic foster parent too. And so it's like we think that people are just going to instantly be happy, instantly not be depressed, instantly get over it, instantly be okay, instantly be healed. And any of these other things, we think it's an instantaneous process. And maybe some things are, but typically it takes a lot of consistency in doing it. And it takes a lot of long suffering. Like, it's a process and it's something that takes time. She's been a prostitute since she was sold into when she was a child. So that's what she knows. She knows that lifestyle. How hard would it be to go to a different lifestyle, or to leave that lifestyle completely behind, or to not to go back to it, or not to think about it when times are hard? Because that's her default mode, is going back to what she knows. That's our mode, is going back to what we know. And so, you hear about people that used to smoke or drink and they've had this long period of time, then some tragedy or trial or something stressful happens, and what do? They go right back to that alcohol, to that cigarette, go back to partying or drinking or whatever things that they were doing. Why? Because it's their default mode, and that is what they know, that is what they're used to. So it says, but with her unexpected softening comes overwhelming feelings of unworthiness and fear. So Angel runs back to the darkness, away from her husband's pursuing love, terrified of the truth she can no longer deny. Her final healing must come from the one who loves her even more than Michael does, the one who will never let her go. This is a story of God's unconditional, redemptive, all-consuming love. And we can judge Angel and we can judge Michael, but how many times does the Lord deliver us? Does he set us free? Does he heal us? Does he provide for us? Does he make a way for us? And what do? We go right back to where we were. If you do this for me, Lord, I'll never fornicate again. A couple weeks later, a couple months later, oh, I'm sorry. If you do this again, you do this for me, I will never touch another bottle of alcohol. Oh, you got cancer. You're just drinking it away. How many times do we go back into sin and go back into our old ways and repeat bad habits? Habits we know mean us no good. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do good. I've been exercising, You go to a party, they got pizza, cake, salad, this, the other, and you just take a plate and you get like 3, 4, 5 plates. You should have one plate You got 4 or 5. You're supposed to eat a slice of the pie, not the whole pie, not half the pie. But you know, how many times do we go back to that? I think I'm gonna get on my eating journal tomorrow. You know, I'm gonna get back to my healthy living journey tomorrow. But today I'm not gonna walk, and today I'm gonna go to the buffet. And so it's like there comes a point where what you're saying just doesn't match up to what you're doing. And that is it, not just in our personal walk, not just in our spiritual walk, not just even on the job, but just really every aspect of our lives. We can see that struggle of, I'm not going to do this one, maybe I'll just do it this one time. And I think that we can see that in the book with Angel, just her going back to her ways. And it's so easy to judge others in the way they sin because, oh, she was a prostitute, and oh, but he did this, and oh, you don't want to know what she did. But what are we doing? There is something in all of our lives that we want to be completely hidden. We don't want anybody to see. We don't want anybody to know. And that is just the human nature. It's our nature to hide and to be secretive. And if you don't believe me, we can go all the way back to the garden and you can see where Eve and Adam hid because they were ashamed. But something that I love is that there is a God who we can take our shame to, and we can just give it to him, and we can just leave it at his feet. It's like we can take all the things that are holding us bound, that are distracting us, that are making us distraught, that are just unhealthy for us, and we can just give it to him. I had this little mirror here that I was trying to decide where I was going to put it in. So I just had it in here in this area. But let's just go with me for a minute. Let's pretend this is God. This is Yah. And over here, I just got all these things. And I mean, you can see like the things are just dangling and falling. But what if I just say, you know what? I give my shame to you. I give my abandonment to you. I give physical abuse to you. I give emotional abuse to you. I give financial abuse to you. I give my mistrust to you. I give my hardness to you. I give my filthy mouth to you. I give my pain to you. But I still got a few things left. And these are just so hard to handle and to let go. And it's like, but my hand feels so much freer because I have less to hold on to. But it's like, well, what's going to happen if I give up to it? If I give it up? My hands are going to be empty. What am I going to do? What is things going to look like? I think we'll just stay right here for a moment. But he can do more with it than I can do with it. I give my family to you. I give you everything. You take it. Because you can do more with it in your hands than I can do with it in mine. And so I give myself to you. You are the potter and I'm the clay. So you mold me and you make me and you put me back together again. And when you see imperfections, put me back on that wheel. Put me back on that wheel so I can be made over in your image, that I can shine your light, and that I can just release it all to you. And through the story, from multiple perspectives, we can see when the people really took their hands off of it, when the people stopped carrying it themselves and really began to trust the Lord and really begin to let him do that working on the inside, that cleaning and that mending and that healing, how the transformations happens. And we can see with each character how with the hands of Christ they were changed and transformed. Okay, so I wanted to just wrap this up by bringing it back to the Bible a little bit more, even though I've kind of been talking about it. I think this is like a complete spoiler-free video. It's my first one I've ever made, so don't judge me too harshly, because we see in this book about when you judge people, your judgments could be wrong. But I just wanted to try to see if I could not share the spoilers and still get a beautiful message across. And the people that this is for will be for, and the people that it's not, they'll click off or they'll do something else. They probably wouldn't even touch it to begin with. So I have a Bible, and it is called the Spiritual Warfare Bible. I have a lot of Bibles, but this is one of my favorite ones because when you have a new book, it just gives you a little bit of information about it. It has like an introduction. So it says, the Holy Spirit prepares and empowers us for spiritual warfare. The Holy Spirit worked in Hosea. The Spirit of God inspired Hosea to see his redeeming love. Is that how we got the title? For his people. In his own personal life, Hosea experienced an unfaithful wife who loved other men. Likewise, Israel had been an unfaithful bride to her husband, the living God. God's people had followed after other gods, and Hosea eventually brought back his unfaithful wife from slavery and returned her to his household. So God's Spirit seeks to redeem his people from the bondage of idolatry and restore them in his household of faith. Again, in Hosea, we see the power of the Holy Spirit use supernatural gifts to prepare his people for the specific types of warfare or ministry. Hosea was given a prophetic vision of God's love for his people, causing him to cry out for Israel and to repent and return to the God who loves her. God's promises to his unfaithful people was, I will heal their backsliding, I will love them freely, for my anger has turned away from him, which is Israel. And so God's Spirit calls us to be a faithful wife to the Lord who loves us with an everlasting love. So that is the introduction. There is so much more, but it's talking about the restoration of Israel, God's unfaithful people, God's mercy on his people, Israel returning to God, God's charge against Israel, the idolatry of Israel. It just continues to go. And the question to be left with is, have you allowed the world's desire for instant gratification and temporary emotional and physical pleasure to open your life to the spirit of whoredom, tempting you to take these downward steps? And if so, what do you do about it? And I think it's hard not to get into instant gratification and not to get into temporary emotional and physical pleasures, because it's what's so prevalent. You cannot walk into a store without seeing sexual content. The lipsticks have sexual names. The drinks, sexual names. The books, I mean, the songs, the dancers, the background dancers, the magazines, like, it's just even in the kids, they've seeped it and twisted it and turned it and put it into the kids' movies and books and just hidden in subliminal messages and different things like that. The point is, it's hard for us to stay true and pure when we're tempted with so many things. We're at a place now when you look at the context of the Bible, they could not fathom what we have today. Like, literally, if they wanted to go visit someone, it could be a week or a month, a year's journey, really, depending on where they were going. it could be such a journey. Like they had to stop and they had to water their animals and build wells and pull from wells and carry water back and heat it and all the things. And yeah, I'm in the Bible, but I'm still in this book because you can see when they were talking about drawing the water and heating it up. And remember when the brother went to find, so we're getting spoilerish, but when the brother went to find Angel, how long he said it had taken him, and just how long the journey, and even so we're gonna stop there. But the point is, they could not fathom the life we have now, where I literally can get in a car or a boat or airplane and be where I need to be in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours. Things that would take days, months before can be done in minutes and hours now. And so I bring that up because we talk about instant gratification, and they could not imagine the instant gratification that we can receive right now. They had to send messages and wait for responses, and it could be such a long time frame between that. And I literally can pick up my phone right now and I can text somebody and I can have an instant gratification. Instagram, Facebook. I don't have to call to see how someone is. I can just pick up my phone, open up on Facebook, and just see how everybody's doing and all the things they want to share, that they should share, that they shouldn't share, what they ate. I can just see it all. And so it's just such an interesting thing that we have been kind of told to not desire instant gratification and to not desire emotional and physical pleasure. Yet that is kind of what the world teaches us. You want it, you can have it. And so anyway, this book leaves me with a lot of thoughts. It was a good book. I definitely give it 5 stars because it definitely is life-changing. And if you're in a place where your heart is hardened and you have bitterness and unforgiveness in your heart, I think that reading this book may be helpful, because you may say, wow, she's been through more than me. And if she was able to forgive and to try again and to get past it and make something beautiful of the brokenness, sure can I. You might say, wow, I would like to have that kind of love for my spouse. A love that is pursuing, a love that says, I'll come and I'll find you and I'll restore you even though you don't deserve it. And I'll never speak down to you, where I will continue to show you the love of Christ, and I will not hurt you, but I will help you to heal and just to remember how good and how great our God is. And I'll just keep pointing you to Him. And my final thought is to really be careful how you judge. Be careful your preconceived notations of people. Be careful of the things that you say against people, for you don't know the truth always. You don't always know why a person says and does what a person says and does. So I would admonish you just really to get to a posture where you would say, what do I think about this person, and why do I think this about the person? And really seek within yourself and your heart to find out the truth, and to give that person a chance. And I would say, if there is someone who seems hard, bitter, just evil, just nasty, to see if you can love the hell out of them. And it's not to be like, oh, she cursed. But obviously they have hell in them. They have hurt in them, and pain in them, and grief in them. And see if it's in your power. Because if you say hey every day for a week and they never say hey back, or they never seem friendly, you might say, I'm done with you. I bet I don't say hey no more. I said hey to you and you didn't even speak to me. You didn't even acknowledge me. You just walked past me. And they could be in their own mind. Like, they could be grieving. They could have just lost somebody, and they're like, listen, I'm just trying to hold it together by like a thread. I'm holding it together by a thread. and you have just judged them so harshly. And I would just encourage you to give it more time. Speak to them every day for a year. At the end of that year, come back and say, you know what, let me see if the year has made a difference. Because it could be that moment that you spoke to them, that you spoke life to them, that you encouraged them, that you strengthened them at the moment that they were about to give up. And we can see in this book a lot of times when Angel was feeling like she was about to give up, there was like a little raven that just came and had a little surprise of hope and just the message to just kind of hold on and be encouraged. And it did encourage her. So I don't know how long this video is. Hopefully it's not too long, but I appreciate you guys just letting me chat with you and share my heart and my emotions, my thoughts behind this book. Again, I can see why it's so loved, and I can see some of the critics and what they have to say. But if the book leads to salvation, if the book leads to healing, if the book leads to redemption, if the book leads to, because maybe you're not in that situation and you don't need all that, but maybe you just say, wow, this book just really encouraged me for the week. Like, wasn't it worth it? And it doesn't matter to me what kind of books she used to write. It has nothing to do with this book. I think that this book was very well done. I will recommend this book. I will say it has lots of trigger warnings. So if you're not ready for triggers, don't touch it. But even in that, the triggers produced something good and great in this book. And even though some people don't want to read and hear about triggers, we do live in a world where triggers happen daily, where triggering things happen daily, where triggering experiences happen daily. And some cultures and some people are more susceptible to than others. And then according to your social economical status would determine, as statistics would say, how likely you are to encounter certain traumas and triggers and things like that. But anyway, until the next video, read another book and blessings.